it's time for me to get serious about finishing the van build. Well, I guess finishing is all relative. I mean, the van was definitely finished enough for me to take it on the road for an entire month this past summer. But since the beginning, the plan has always been to make some sort of kitchen area. And after spending a lot of time thinking about it, I think I'm finally ready to put that plan into action. As it is right now, the basic components of my kitchen are water storage and food storage. And when I talk about food storage, I'm really only referring to things that need to be kept cold. One decision I made shortly after getting the van was that I would be using a cooler and not a fridge, because not only are RV camping fridges expensive, but they also draw a lot of power. And I had this perfectly good Yeti cooler right here. Beside my cooler, the other part of my kitchen is just this water container, which is sitting on the floor, and I use by sticking this USB powered pump faucet into it, and I get to use this as like a regular sink kind of. So the basic idea is to build a platform that will elevate the water container, give me maybe some storage underneath, and a countertop with an area for the faucet to come through, and potentially even a sink, but that's definitely a take it or leave it scenario. But I still have a slight problem, because after doing some measurements and factoring in the wood that I would have to use for the framing, it turns out that this water container is just slightly too big for that space. So I went ahead and I bought this container instead, which is thinner by just a few inches and should hopefully be just the right size to fit and get going on the kitchen. Okay, that was a lot of math and measuring and thinking, but this is what I've come up with. So I actually scrapped my original plan of putting the cooler and the water on a platform. It's not going to work for a number of reasons, and I'll just get more storage space anyhow. The cooler itself will just be in an open area on the floor. I still need to be able to remove it from the van so I can drain it and refill it. But when it comes to the water storage, I will be building a cabinet around that, which is slightly larger than the tank itself, which will give me some storage inside there. And I'm also hoping I can make the countertop on that cabinet wide enough so that I can cut out an insert to drop my collapsible sink into. So let's go see if I can pull it off. So over a year ago, when I first built this floor, I used 1/4-inch plywood for the subfloor, which is too thin to actually anchor furniture down into. So instead, I'm going to be cutting and attaching these framing pieces to the side of my existing closet and the furring strips behind the wall. It's not ideal, but I don't really have many other options. So that's really just one example of how a single mistake can really have cascading repercussions down the line. But luckily this feels pretty sturdy, and now I can move on to putting on the sides. For the side of the cabinet, I'm using this leftover 1/4 inch plywood that I have from various other parts of the build. As aesthetically pleasing as it would be to have just one big piece, I'm trying to use up the leftover plywood that I have instead of just wasting it and buying a whole other sheet. Honestly, it's so funny because for the longest time, I just felt really insecure about my build compared to all the stuff that I would kind of see online. But when I started looking closer, I noticed those little imperfect details are there. Everyone has them, but sometimes it's just hard to see them at a distance. Okay, so you might have noticed this little overhang here of the side of the cabinet, and that is because I am going to put in these pieces to make a face frame for the cabinet door to sit on top of. Basically the exact same design as my closet. And yeah, all of these pieces are different sizes because, again, I'm just really trying to use up material here, and I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Plus, it'll be even less noticeable after I paint it. This design probably looks pretty familiar because it is the exact same plywood with hole saw cutout that I used for my closet doors in here. So now all I need to do is stain it and seal it. Okay, I'm gonna give this some time to dry, and then it'll be time to install. I'm gonna be using the exact same type of hinge as the ones that I have on my other cabinet doors. This is a semi-concealed partial wrap hinge with a 1/2 inch overlay. But once I throw this door on, I think it's really all gonna start to come together. I've just got one final step, which is attaching these magnetic door catches so that the doors don't open up while I drive, and that is the cabinet done. All right, there it is. I'm really loving the way it's looking, but now I have a big decision to make. A while ago, I bought this piece of butcher block to use as the countertops for both my electrical cabinet and my little kitchen countertop. But I'm kind of having second thoughts for a couple of reasons. My main problem is that it's 1.5 inches thick, which would raise the counter height pretty drastically. I mean, I know it sounds dramatic, over 1.5 inches, but every inch counts in a small space. So before I do anything, I'm gonna make some cardboard templates and just check the situation out. After some careful consideration, I think I'm just gonna go with the plywood. As nice as it would look, I am a little afraid to cut into this $120 piece of butcher block, only to realize that it might not work, and I can always add it later if I feel like it. I'm gonna need this. Okay, that's the sink cut out. It's not perfect, but it is perfect in my eyes. I have measured out where I want the faucet to go and the pump tube to feed down into. So I'm just going to drill those holes out, stain and seal it, and then I will be ready to attach the countertop. So these are the finished countertop pieces, but before I attach this to the frame, I'm going to show you my solution for making this part of the countertop removable so that I can put the sink in when I need it and take it out and have a nice flat surface when I don't. I should mention that there's probably a much better way to do this, but I had these hinges left over and I'm trying to use up all my spare materials, so I figured this was a pretty decent solution, so let's see how it works. Alright, so all of the hinges are on here now, and so you can kind of see what the idea is here to like let them just rest. Oh, I put it in the wrong way. But the idea is to just like let it rest on those soft close hinges. They're pretty like, there's a lot of resistance to them to get them to like open, so I think that's gonna work. I'm pretty happy with that. I just need to make sure that the sink still fits in once I open the hinges up. And that's it. A no plumbing required kitchen sink in my van. It's nothing fancy, but it works for me. So let me show it to you in action. Even though I finally got around to adding the kitchen way later than expected, I'm glad I had time to really think about it. And I guess it doesn't feel like it, but the hard part is done. I mean, essentially, the build is over. But sometimes I still can't believe I built all this with my own two hands. This is honestly one of the most empowering things I have ever done. And I've just loved building this van and learning everything along the way. For now, it feels surreal to just start putting all my tools away, knowing that all my hard work resulted in something I can be really proud of.